Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for One Piece episode 951. Okay, so I'd like to start by saying that whatever else I have to talk about with in the episode, the one major prop I can give this week's episode is that the animation quality was off the chain this week. And the thing is, don't get me wrong, we have gotten a lot of episodes with some great animated moments, but the key word there being moments throughout Wano. But this is, like, honestly, this is the first episode in a while, like probably ever since very early on in the arc, where the animation artwork and the animation quality has this very consistent flow from beginning to end. Like, and it didn't, and there was very few, if any, a moment it felt like where it felt like where it felt like that there was something visually out of place, but everything just felt so clean, so smooth, just everything just felt so tightly, just all the artwork, all the animation, it just felt so tightly woven into the episode. Like there's very rarely, if ever, a moment out of place for me with this episode on a visual spectrum. So yeah, so so yeah, if I were to just judge this merit on artwork and animation alone, this would be one of the best episodes of the arc for me. Again, that's it if I was just judging it on those two merits alone. Um, with that said, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe the entire first chunk of this episode, like the first 9 minutes basically, is anime only, because I don't specifically remember a moment from the manga of Zoro from Zoro fighting against of Zoro, even from fighting against the Prince Orochi Oniwabanshu. And just the fact that that's the case, and the fact that we got that extended material is a very interesting thing to me, because by us getting this extra content of just Zoro, of Zoro fighting the Prince Ninja of the Orochi Oniwabanshu, um, I feel it not only does more to develop Zoro and Hiyori's motivations than what was in the manga, but it also helps us understand where they're coming from better, and understand as to where the core of their motivations come from. But on top of that, it also does fill a very weird time gap issue I did kind of have with the manga, which is what happened to Zoro after the whole incident in the square. And in that sense, this episode, it not only fills that gap pretty well, but it again illustrates that Toei, for whatever faults you want to bring up about them, and trust me, there are some legitimate faults we can bring up about Toei's adaptation of One Piece. But one thing they are getting better at, specifically in this arc, is how they pad out an episode. Because this episode is honestly a prime example of giving us material we haven't seen, and seen in the manga, and adds the story even more. Like, as weird as it is, for as much of a small detail as it is of helping giving us a deeper dive into Zoro's and Yori's motivations, it does make us like it does make us more like attached. It does make us it does make us a lot more invested in the Prune struggle to. It's little details like that that really makes us more invested in the struggle to retake Wano, especially on the Straw Hats side, because usually in the Straw Hats case, that they're really just kind of the people who are just there to help. But in Zoro's case, you can see he does have a legitimate reason. Like, everything Orochi stands for is against what he represents as a swordsman. So it gives a little bit more of a connection that Zoro now has to Wano as a swordsman. um, and now, to be fair, Toei still isn't perfect. At least when at now, to be fair, Toei still isn't perfect when it comes to this, and especially when it comes to One Piece. But when they get it right, they get it pretty damn right. And again, this is one of those cases for me where I feel that Toei, that the stuff Toei added to this episode, it really from got it really finally it basically got this is the perfect way in order for them to pad out an episode. Honestly, for me. Um, the episode also gives us a look at how increasingly unhinged Orochi is getting, and normally that's one of those times where you think this would make him the most vulnerable, which to a certain degree is true, but at the same time, as we pretty much as we see the conversation between him and the leader of the pretty much as you see between the conversation between Orochi and the leader of the Perch of the Perch Oni Wabanshu. Um, he's the fact that he's becoming more unhinged is is also causing him to grow even more dangerous than he ever has been up to this point. Now, I will admit that sense of danger I felt from Orochi growing unhinged was slightly undercut by the voice actor giving the character this very high-pitched squeal in one moment, but it was probably the more jarring part of the episode, just for the fact that for a brief moment I couldn't take him seriously. But again, but even if that was the case, we still get to see how Yas it still shows us how Yasui's execution and the final words, even though his intent was to kind of give more time to the rebellion, what he did actually did very little to change anything, because Orochi is so damn vain. He is so damn vain. He won't. He basically won't even admit that he made a mistake. But even more so than that, even if it was a lie, even if what Yasui said was a lie and he did believe it, it's just it's now, as we see from from basically Sanji's perspective, it's made things way more complicated than it ever has before. And on that note, we also finally get to see how the battle between Law and Hawkins was resolved. And yeah, we pretty much get to see that in the end, the only thing that Law could do was pretty much trade his life for his crew. But even more than that, it would make sense that he wouldn't want Luffy or anyone else to know, because if they were aware of what happened, they'd abandon everything in order to save him. And with the battle to take back Wano nearing ever closer, they can't entirely afford any more detours. That they have to keep moving on full steam ahead. Of course, we basically know what the inevitable decision is going to be, especially with the fact that Luffy is still technically locked up in the prison. But it also shows the depths of what Law is willing to sacrifice for this in order to see the plan through. But it's kind of a weird paradox where even though Law is doing this in order to ensure that the plan and the plan and the rebellion goes forward on schedule and as planned, I don't think he understands how key his own role is to the plan either. Like his sacrifice to save his crew was noble, but I don't think he understands how key he himself is to basically the overall plan itself. There's also a very interesting but small moment where we see that Hawkins and Drake interrogating Law, and there's a very small moment where Drake curses out Law for what he did, for something he did, and honestly, it's a very small detail that would fly over anyone's head, but as a manga reader, it's a subtle touch that, for a brief moment, actually exposes where Drake's real loyalties lie. And believe me, when we pretty much get that reveal, we're also going to get when we get that reveal of where Drake's true loyalties lie. That's where everything is gonna blow open. Like, I'm telling you right now, that where Drake's real loyalties lie is gonna blow the top off everything, and just it's going to add even more insanity to this arc already than what there already is. Like, it's going to add another. Let's just say it's going to add another faction to this now. Now, the other major thing I want to talk about is that Chopper has successfully healed Luffy, which right out of the gate, it just figures that immediately after getting cured of poison, the first thing that Luffy would want is food. But one thing I really like here is that it is an interesting bit of a progression on Chopper's part, just for the fact that he was able to heal Queen's poison at all. And if it can cure that, it actually provides an interesting bit of hope that the people of Ebisu can also be cured from the effect of the smile fruits as well, because just in how the smiles are made in itself is kind of another type of poison. So with Chopper taking this first big step of curing of curing of curing his po- of curing Queen's poison, the only logical next step for him would be to find a way in order to cure the effect of the smile fruits, and for Chopper to at some point find a cure for that. So yeah, I think that is going to be a next step. The next step. What and the only question is what that particularly entails. But yeah, guys, that's all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Mr. Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.